I am. It's been a long day, but I'm here showing up for you guys. We're going to talk about personal branding. It's a topic that I love to talk about. It's my baby, and I'm hoping that it will add great value to you. Actually, you know what? Before I do, let me just make sure I get. Hi, Ria. Nice to see you. Let me just notify people that I am on live. Hi, Glynis. I am on Facebook and Instagram, so just so you know, I'm looking at two screens. So we're going to talk about why you need to build a bulletproof personal brand. Why you need a bulletproof personal brand. Hi, Jimmy. It's great to see you. All right, let's get this thing going. Personal brand. I like 9 o'clock. I think 9 o'clock is a good time to get on live. Because, Glenn, it's nice to see you, darling. Most people are getting settled in after supper and kids and all, you know. Oh, that's not right. Why you need a bulletproof personal brand. I didn't write that, right? Why you need a bulletproof. Sorry, Instagram. I've got you jiggling all over the place, but I'm just typing something here for you. All right. All right, so we're gonna get started. It's 9:01. I like to start on time. It takes some time for people to get into the broadcast. Usually about 10 minutes or so, but I won't keep you guys too long. I'm thinking it's gonna be about 30 minutes. But essentially, what I wanted to talk about tonight is personal branding and why you need to have a personal brand, okay? There's a lot of misconceptions out there in the marketplace as to what personal branding really is. With the advent of technology, social media, all of that, there's been many iterations and versions and ideas and concepts about what it means to truly have a personal brand. I'll share with you, first of all, before I get started, I don't want to forget, just to introduce myself for those of you who do not know me, I am Tika Cameron Tackey, the Professionals Coach. I transform ambitious CEOs, executives, and corporate professionals into confident, influential leaders who thrive in and outside of the workforce. How do I do that? Well, I help you to create and define your personal and or business brand with a lens on leadership development, helping you to develop your competencies so that you are able to attract and connect with others for greater influence. Okay. My background is I worked in government for 10 years and decided that wasn't where I wanted to be. And then I branched out into image consulting, so coaching people on appearance, behavior, and communication. And then eventually I found my way into coaching, consulting, and training and speaking. So long story short, I provide you as a professional with all the tools and resources that you need to be effective and to thrive in and outside the workforce, whether you're doing a 9-to-5 or you're doing your thing solo, okay? So before I get started, I want to ask, for those of you who are here with me tonight, do you have a personal brand? Yes or no? Yes, goodness, I love orange as well. Hi, Laura, thanks for jumping on. Do you have a personal brand? Or do you believe you have a personal brand? Drop me a comment in the comment box if you believe you have a personal brand. Goodness, you said no, you don't. Okay. Anyone on Instagram? Where's my grammars at? Anybody on Instagram? Do you believe you have a personal brand as it currently stands right now? Goodness, you'd like to have one. Yes, awesome. Well, here's the thing, right? Whether we want to admit it or not, or whether we know it or not, each and every one of us has a personal brand. Jumi, mine could be better. Maria, not yet, but soon. Awesome. Yes. And this is the thing, though. We all have a personal brand. The thing is, though, we have to clearly define it and we have to clearly understand it. If we have not yet defined our personal brand, you can bet others have already done that for us. Okay. Hi, Bruce. Thanks so much for coming on. Essentially, your personal brand is your image. It is the experience that you create when other people interact with you. It's a combination of your appearance, your behavior, and your communication, as well as your competencies, right? What it is that you are good at and, what it is that you do. So essentially, you are every single day that you are walking around in your work environments or in your personal settings, you are displaying your personal brand. Now, the people who tend to be the most effective, or at least what I found to be the most effective, are those people, and most successful, are those people who have taken full control of their personal brands. They know, first of all, who they are. They have identified with who they are. They've come into complete awareness as to what it is that they are strong at, who it is that they are at their core, what is it that they don't like. Hey, Michelle, so nice to see you. What it is that they don't like to do. And they have created a career, a life around the things that they are strong at. And those are the individuals who, I've come to discover are the ones who created their personal brands, are the ones who are very successful. But in addition to those things, in addition to the self-awareness, in addition to, coming into their own strengths, people with a strong personal brand have an exceptional ability to connect with other people. But not only to connect, but to attract people and the ability to connect with people. Because the bulk of what we are going to do at work, in our personal lives, wherever we go, it's going to be done with others, right? Would you agree or disagree? Drop me some hearts or notes and comments, just so I know that I've got an engaged audience. But really, the bulk of what we will be doing in this life is interacting with other people. So if you are, going to be very successful, and I talked about this, I'm sharing this currently in my mastermind group, is in order for us to really be successful, we got to know how to get along with people. We got to know how to build relationships, right? We got to know how to connect with people. It's not just about seeing somebody, saying hi and, getting along and just being beside them. It's about really getting deep and understanding who people are and really appreciating people and seeing value in people. And then from doing so, you have the ability to connect. Hey, Pat, so good to see you. Thank you for commenting, right? So yes, so having the ability to attract and connect with others for greater influence is something that we each have to discover how to do. And that's going to be, building your personal brand is essentially giving you the ability to have influence. And as John Maxwell has taught me, and John is the leader of my organization, that I'm a certified member of his organization. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And everything pretty much rises and falls on leadership, right? So if you can if you can develop your personal brand with a lens on leadership, you have a greater ability to have influence. And influence, my friends, is what's going to make the difference between whether or not you get a job that you really enjoy, if you want to get a job, because not everybody wants a job, right? Whether you secure that client or that deal, right? Whether you're able to convince somebody to move alongside you in a leadership role or if you're in a management capacity. Influence is ultimately what you're going to need to do that. But how can you influence people? How can you, get where you want to go if you have not yet clearly defined who it is that you are, what it is that you want, and how it is that you're going to get it? It's a challenge, right? It can become a challenge. But here's the thing. In this economy I tend to do projections going forward for at least 5 years. I grew up in employment programs. I'll give you a bit of history for me. I started my employment in working in HRSDC, or for some of you who are in Canada, you might know it's Human Resources Skills Development, or Human Resources Development Canada, and in an employment insurance branch. So most of my career has been spent in employment and looking at employment statistics and employment trends and seeing how the world of work is changing. And so much has changed just in the past 5 years alone that, when we look at how the advent of social media has pretty much exploded the ability for people to create their own personal brands, or not even create because it's already existing, but to clearly define it and to carve out their own section or niche in the world has been incredible. Okay. And it's only going to grow further. Hey, Nakia, thanks for jumping on. It's only going to grow further as, time goes by. Right? What we're discovering, or what I've discovered in looking at the trends, is that workers, if you are a worker, a 9-to-5er, or even if you are self-employed, have to become agile. You have to become agile. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to instantly communicate your value and your worth to those who matter, whether they're at the hiring table, or as I said, whether they're a client, looking for you to provide them with the service. You've got to be in a position to quickly not only provide the solution, but to communicate your value and your worth. You got to stand out, right? And how are you going to stand out, once again, if you don't know who you are, what it is that you're here to do, right? And how you're going to get there. You've got to create your personal brand. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't need a brand. I'm not business. I'm not a product. I'm not this. I'm not that. And that's fair. That's fair. But the reality is your image, your authentic image. Now, I'm not talking about creating nothing that's fake, because I'm not about that life. If you're going to be projecting an image, it's got to be authentically who you are. Right? But authentically who you are has to also be polished, right? It has to be polished because it's got to be in such a position. You've got to be able to go out into the world and to, as I said earlier, attract people, right? So I wouldn't say it's, you're conforming. Well, to an extent, there is some degree of conformity, but you can still maintain your own authenticity by starting from your core, right? Starting from your core. So figuring out, really digging deep, who is it that I am? What is it that I want to do with my life? I started this process in 2006. I was miserable, absolutely miserable at my job. And I had a good, decent job. I was in government. I was making decent money, and I had a pension. I had a pension, but I was miserable. And I said, I've got to come up with a solution. I've got to figure out my next step. I need to figure out what I really want to do. I was a team leader, and I wanted to be at the highest levels in my organization before I knew what that meant. Right. And I decided that I was going to, sorry, Instagram, seems like my connection went out for a second. I decided that I was going to be proactive and going to define where it was that I wanted to go with my career. So I did a lot of self-exploration, and I found, a career that I thought, wow, this is incredible. I get to help people to be better communicators, to learn how to behave, more professionally in work environments. Because I was growing up in government, and there were a lot of times I didn't see, there was some professionalism, but a lot of times I didn't see it. So I thought, yeah, this is good. I could use these skills to help people to develop, because I really wanted to develop people. That was my passion. And then but I started out doing fashion because fashion was the first element of the appearance piece, right? I'm sharing this history with you just so you can understand what it means to build your personal brand, because that's how I started. That's what I decided to do very early on. Like I said, in 2000s, before the internet even exploded this whole concept, right? And what I came to learn and discover was yes, building my brand was the best thing that I could do because it helped me to really transition from a career that I thought was dead end for me into what I'm doing now, which is what I absolutely love. You know, I love adding value to people. I love coaching people. I love teaching and sharing wisdom and knowledge that's going to help people to have better lives and people that I can connect with, you know? And I did that because I was intentional. Number one, I said, this is what I need to do and I'm going to do it. And I was strategic by figuring out what it was I liked to do, what it was that I didn't like to do, what skill sets did I have that I could transition into another job. Because initially I didn't think I had any skills. I mean, I went to university, I got a degree and all that stuff, but I still felt like I didn't have skills, you know, and I was still learning in my management role, but I still felt that I didn't have skills. But eventually I had to say, okay, well, how am I going to go into self-employment? What skills am I going to use? So I had to literally sit down and dig deep and figure that out. And I did. And that's how I was able to arrive at where I am today, which required a greater deal of exploration. But for me, what building my personal brand did for me was it solidified my path. It enabled me to be very clear about where it was that I was going to go. So no matter what was happening in the economy, right, as you've seen, and as I've said, there's been so much that's happened since just, 2011, even from the time when I started in 2006, it's like a completely different world. But the benefit to those of you who are currently thinking of building your personal brand, the benefit of being here today is there's so many examples that you can look at for how you can position yourself in the marketplace. There are so many resources and tools that are available. Sometimes ad nauseum, like it can be a little bit overwhelming, but if you are able to get the right resources in the right quantities just to figure out what works for you, it can be very easy and rewarding to create your personal brand. I shouldn't say easy because it is a process. You know, a lot of people, a lot of what's going around in society right now is, or even on social media, there's this idea that personal branding is about packaging. Packaging is one element of personal branding. It is like the final element. This is how you're positioning yourself in the marketplace. You know, it's like, imagine the cereal. How many of you, when you were in school, you had to do that cereal box project where you design a cereal box, right? Or you came up with it, you had a team and you had to come up with the concept for the marketing for the cereal. I don't know how many of you did that. Nye, you're on social media. I think we might have done that at Smithfield. But you know, you had the cereal box or the cereal project, and you had to market it. And one of the final things you had to do was to put the packaging on it. How are you going to box it? How are you going to sell it to people, right? That's kind of similar to, but you had to, before you did that, there was a whole bunch of thought that had to go into, you know, what kind of cereal were we going to sell and who were we going to sell it to? And, you know, what did we want our jingle to be and all that? And then the end result was the package, right? That's similar to what we're going to do when we're building our personal brand. We're not going to just show up, hey, here I am. Let me just market myself and self-promote. That's not what it's about. That's one element of it. Personal branding is a deep exploration of who you are, right? The term brand is just that's the marketing piece, right? But it's really about understanding who you are, what separates you, what makes you distinct and unique. What is your unique value proposition? What unique value do you bring to the marketplace? How can you add value to the marketplace, right? Because we're all here to add value. You know, if you're not adding value, you're going to be left behind because there's just so many people who are vying for, you know, the opportunities that are existing, and employers have recognized, you know, that there is a highly engaged solopreneur community, a highly engaged contracting community, right? I believe the statistic going to 2025 is that 30% of the workforce is going to be contract and contingent workers, right? And about approximately like 25% are going to be self-employed contractors, people who are doing their own billings and invoices, right? The solopreneur economy is a booming economy. It's a real economy. And having a personal brand positions you to be able to move swiftly into that economy because you're able to, communicate who you are, the value that you're able to bring, and then you're able to package that in such a way that you can attract corporate clients, you can attract individual clients, and you can manage your work, you can essentially manage your life and your work on your own. It's not for everybody. I will tell you that straight up. I've been self-employed since 2008. It's not for everybody. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of faith, a lot of belief and confidence in your own abilities. And it takes a lot of confidence in general, because the fear factor is something that will cripple you in self-employment. It will cripple you if you're not careful, right? You won't be able to move very far. But the reality is a lot of the workforce is going to be self-employed and contingent workers, and people who are able to be agile and flexible and respond to the needs of employers and clients immediately. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that if your personal brand isn't clearly defined? How are you going to do that if you're just essentially going through the motions each and every day? You're just going from one place, you're going from work, you're going home, and in between, nothing else is happening. You're not taking the time to really sort out who it is that you are. And let me tell you this, I had a side hustle. My image consulting job was a side hustle. Like when I finished my 9 to 5, I was going from 5 to midnight or whenever it was that I had to go. It was crazy, but I had to do it at the time because that was the way that I was going to build my practice, right? You got to do what it is that you got to do. You got to make the sacrifices that you got to make, right? We're not always in the position to make those types of sacrifices, but there's other sacrifices that you can make. Maybe it's giving up a television show or something, right? But at the core of it, I don't want to digress too far, but at the core of it, building your personal brand will make it a bulletproof personal brand. Starts with self-awareness, starts with understanding at your very core where it is that you want to go in your career, in your life, in your business, if you have a business, right? And then really packaging it in such a way that makes you stand out. Something as effective as color. Color. Simple, right? But understanding this, not everybody understands how the power of color and how to use colors effectively to communicate who they are, their personality, to create energy and to create and to communicate, right? But something as simple as color is a strategic, and how color can, affect your appearance. That's the attraction piece, right? Because as I said to you earlier, in my practice, I teach attract. When you have presence, you're able to attract and connect with others for greater influence. So there's attract, connect, and influence, right? Learning these principles, understanding what they mean, is going to really help you as you are moving forward in your career. But now is not the time to be stagnant. Now is not the time to sit on the sidelines and watch as everybody else is building their brands. Because I'm sure you see it. Like if you're on the gram, for the grammars, I'm sure you see a lot of people popping up, right? With, all of the, their nicely packaged marketing, their sales are nicely packaged and marketed. And you're wondering to yourself, how did it do that? These are people who've been intentional, and sometimes it looks like an overnight success, but this is a lot of work that's been going on for a very long time. In the past, really, it was mainly celebrities who showed up as personal brands because they were the ones that had access to the public relations. They were the ones that had access to the media. They were the ones that had access to technology that enabled their marketed selves to be broadcasted, right? Now, the ordinary person can do that, right? And create a persona. And not even create a persona, but really allow you to showcase who you are, what it is that makes you unique and special, right? And it's not just in the context of self-employment. People in a 9-to-5 job need to also have a personal brand. If you want to move up the ladder, if your intention is to stay where you are, yes, yes and no. I still think it's important to take control of it, because you want to be mindful of how you're presenting yourself and what it is that people understand about you. It's not about being concerned so much about, because initially when I first started, I thought, okay, I have no time for being fake. If I'm going to have to be fake, then I don't want to be a part of that, right? But I don't look at it that way. I look at it as being strategic and being smart, right? Because whether we like it or not, we live in a visual society, right? And we live in a society where people will make judgments on us, whether we like it or not. So why not control what judgments people are going to make? Well, to the best of our ability. We're not going to always be successful in doing so, right? Because you can't persuade everybody to be on your side. But why not take control of your identity? Why not take control of the message that you are communicating, the promise that you're putting out there for your clients, for your leaders, for your stakeholders, whomever? Why not take control of that on your own, right? So my friends, I hope that, through this talk, I brought more awareness to the topic of personal branding. It's personal/professional branding. For those who are in an executive role, I talk about executive presence, having executive presence, because once you start getting to the higher rungs in the organizations, there's a certain degree of gravitas and confidence that you absolutely have to have if you want to be able to be influential, right? And that takes really developing your knowledge, your leadership knowledge and your leadership presence, right? But I truly hope that this conversation has helped you. And listen, when I share what I'm sharing with you, I'm not sharing stuff that I haven't been through myself. I'm a little girl from Jada Finch. I came from the hood. I had a lot of learning to do. Sorry, never mind. I'm a little girl from Jamaica, from the country. I had a lot of learning to do in order to get to where I am today. And I want to just make sure that I can pass on that information and that knowledge that I've gained to you, so that you don't have to go through some of the things that I experienced. It can be a shorter learning curve for you, and you can show up in your careers and in your lives stellar. Not to suggest that you're not, because that's not what I'm suggesting, but even more stellar, and stand out in such a way that people understand your value and your worth that you bring. Because each of you have uniqueness. Each of you have skills. Each of you have gifts. You may not be able to recognize them as of yet, because for the most part, many of us have not had a chance to tap into that. We've just been so busy living, right? So busy running that we've not been able to tap into what makes us great. What is it that makes us unique? When we take the time, peel back the layers, really sit down and assess who we are at our core, that's when our gifts start to come out. That's when it becomes clear to us what it is, why it is that we were sent here. Okay. And I want that for you. I want that for you. I want you to be able to see that, your gifts are within you. And then all it takes is exploration, and it takes intentionality. It takes focus, determination to bring it out. And then once you get that, figure out a way to package it. Figure out a way to package it authentically. Let's not create fake personas. Nobody has time for that in 2018. People can sniff out fakeness from afar. Be who you are authentically. Show up authentically, but polish it. Polish it in such a way that it will be, people will be receptive, and you can actually attract, connect with, and influence others. All right. So that's my talk for tonight. And just so you know, I've been rolling out services rolling out things in ways that I can help you. I'm here to add value to you and to those you know who are, in the need of development, personal growth and development and leadership development. And I've got a few packages that I've rolled out. One is a personal branding package for those of you who want to work on building your personal brand. As a coach, I'm a coach and a strategist and a consultant. So I do, I work strategically with you to create a plan of action, to give you an assessment, to help you to assess where you currently are and figure out what is your next steps. How do you get from point A to point B? Because it's hard to get to the next point if you don't even know where you're starting, right? And that's where I can add value to you. So to find out more, feel free to visit my website. I'm going to drop the links for you to find out more about what it is that I do and how it is that I can add value to you. But I hope that this has been informative and that it has been inspirational and that you can get ready, get yourself in gear to build a bulletproof personal brand so that if no matter what changes occur, when the robots come, when all kinds of changes happen, you're ready. You're ready and you're in control. You're in the driver's seat, nobody else. Okay, so the website for finding out more is www.tecacameron.com, and you can find out more about how it is that I can help you. All right. Thank you so much for those of you who took the time out. It's very late, but you still came. Thank you for those of you who came out to the broadcast. I really appreciate you spending time with me, and I just want to see you successful. I want to see you win. All right. Be blessed and have a great night. Thank you, Ria. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that I was able to add value to you on Instagram and for all of you who are on Instagram. I look forward to connecting with you again. All the best and have a good night. Take care. Cue the music. Bruce, all right. All right. Good night. Good night. Good night, Facebook.